Hello, Cancer. This is your reading for the week of October 20th, or when you hear this and it resonates. Cancer, Sun, Moon, Rising, possibly Venus, or just a lot of Cancer in your chart. So, Cancers, the first thing that I see is a cartoon image that, you've seen those cartoons where, I hope you have, where there's a cat and the cat is going ding, and a claw comes up, and then ding, and then another one, and he goes through all, so this soft fluffy paw, and then all of a sudden the claw comes up, and he allows them all to come up, and they're all like sparkling like they do in cartoons, glint, a glint, a glint. And so this is interesting to me because Cancer is associated very much with loving heart. And so to see that and to hear Spirit say, sharpen your claws, Cancer, sharpen your claws. And it's not that you're even necessarily going to need them. The first card that you get, however, is boundaries and barriers or barriers. And so I feel, based on that and the other cards that I will address in a minute, that for a lot of Cancers, what you are now in a position of doing is really applying a lot of the it's like I see you on one of those moving those moving stairs, those moving ramps, like at the moving sidewalks, that's what they call them, at the airports. And you're on that. And what that represents is this moving trajectory that you're on in terms of learning to understand what it means for you to be loving and loving to yourself. And you're catching yourself in some behaviors and attitudes that you're recognizing now are not about actually genuinely loving. So for example, you might find yourself suddenly, as you're on this moving sidewalk of life, having an experience going, okay, that sidewalk is representing your continued awareness and consciousness to be able to watch and reflect on what's going on. And as you go along, you might realize, oh yes, this isn't loving behavior towards this person. This is because I was set up as a kid to be the family rescuer. Or I don't really like being funny to make people feel happy, but I was the comic relief in the family. It might be any of these things that you see that you have now taken on board as, one chapter in the book on how to love. And now you're looking at it going, oh, that chapter's got to go because that's not really love. That's this, that, or the other thing. So the clause, they're not necessarily something that you have to use, but what Spirit is saying is once you know you've got them, then you can actually be more confident. When you know that you can make the changes or the adjustments that you need to make for yourself in order to have healthy boundaries, then you don't have to have barriers against people. You can now negotiate within your own mind, first of all, how you would like that to be. And genuinely speaking, when you're doing that with a sense of kindness, when you're doing it with a sense of calm focus, and the ability to really stay in touch with yourself, you have much more ability to choose how you want to do this from the really positive place in yourself. So it doesn't have to be shutting somebody out completely necessarily. Certainly if they're a fundamentally benign force in your life, but you just have gotten into a negative pattern with them, can you change the pattern? Can you readjust how you're thinking about it? Maybe they don't care if you change the pattern. Maybe you don't need to go to book club with them every week in order to maintain a friendship. Maybe you realize you actually would rather read your own books and not what they're doing. And you don't want to sit around and chat for 20 minutes. It's kind of boring if it's not about the book. Like, there are all sorts of different possibilities that might come up for you in terms of how you now negotiate your relationships with people. Now, the other thing that you're being told here is, in terms of setting your boundaries, it's not always the easiest thing to do. And sometimes you can end up sort of almost stepping away from things in a way where you shut your energy down away from them and you don't have to. So that is often will happen when you get into a clench about it, when you haven't really understood what this, thank you, this is important. When you haven't really understood what it is you're meant to be identifying, you can stay in relationships for quite a while that just continue to irritate you, or they'll irritate you, then get better, and then irritate you again. And it's like, ah. So when you find yourself in a loop like that, or really stuck on something, chances are there's more there for you to understand that is going to liberate you once you understand it. So you're being told, lean into grace when that happens. Grace is not earned. Grace is a state in which we receive for no apparent reason a divine influence which strengthens us in a way that eases whatever problematic or miserable state we find ourselves. Grace needs only to be accepted in order to be received. And I think that's very important for you. You're also being told the calm focus, the gratitude, which is a very expansive energy, and to remember all those good parts of yourself that are there and let them really be there. Because Cancers, you can have a tendency to sometimes, because emotions are so important to you and because you live in them very deeply, and when you go into them deeply to understand them. You go into a feeling state to understand them, and then you bring it into your conscious state. Then you bring it into your logical mind. Because you do that, sometimes it feels like very serious work. And it is intense work, but you're being told it can be something that you allow to be, how can I put this? How do you want me to express that? It doesn't have to be all hard work. Just because you're having a challenge with dealing with this new adjustment, can you in that moment remember that it doesn't have to be heavy? It doesn't have to be work. It can be an opportunity. It doesn't have to be a hurdle. It can be a window. It doesn't have to be a wall. It can be a door. You know what I mean? That you can, depending upon, okay, excuse me. Now you get notice your choices and it's a new day. Okay, so it's like, all right, notice your choices. Each time you reject a reason to feel happy, loving to yourself, kind to someone, or calm, ask yourself, what are you choosing instead and why? And this is where you get to, today's a new day. Look at everything fresh. This is really telling you, Cancers, this is where you can fine-tune some of your thought processes and your automatic knee-jerk reactions to situations that appear conflicting or appear like a conflict or an aggravation to you, and switch it from an aggravation to an opportunity. So it actually helps you stay in that energy that's going to resolve it more quickly. And you're being told, the last one you're being told is, and I think this is very, very good for you, Cancers, is stay in touch with your senses, because that grounds you and that brings you into present time. And when you're in present time and you're in touch with your senses, that's where you can really feel what kind of choices. You've got 2 choice cards here. So you've got power, because power is choice. You're being told, maintain gratitude, a calm focus, lean into grace in order to be able to be in that place where you can feel your senses, where you can trust you've got the expansion. Be grateful for what you've got. Be grateful for the support that you've got. And allow your positive energy to be there with you as you're making these adjustments in your boundaries. Now I just saw the claws going ping, 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 ping again. This is a powerful pivotal moment for you, Cancers, because it's really taking everything that you're still on that sidewalk, which is, to me, the gradual, slow evolution of yourself as your consciousness is shifting and experiencing, seeing things go by, but slowly enough that you can go, oh yes, okay, I get it. As opposed to, oh, there it is again. Oh, this is going to be hard. It's like, no, keep your head up. and keep moving. And if you want to move your feet on the moving sidewalk, you can, or you can just let it carry you for a while and go, I'm going to look around here for a bit. Okay, Cancers, this is great. You are on the moving sidewalk of higher consciousness, but I won't use that as a title because I think it would be misleading. That is it, Cancers. Take care.